Alright, I just wanted to make a video in response to a comment that I've been receiving a lot lately, and I've spent some time trying to articulate my thoughts on why it bothered me the most, and it just hit me the other day, because usually I'm not bothered by things, so here, you can kind of see my thought process as I went through. You're so lucky your transition was so easy. Lately I've been trying to figure out why this comment unnerves me so much. I mean, the majority of the reasons seem to be pretty clear. First and foremost, I don't consider my journey to have been anything close to easy. A lot of it was hard work, but at the same time I understand that my happiness and my optimism right now might paint it as having been an easy journey. But simultaneously, when things were easy, it was not at all due to luck. It was hard work, it was determination, it was resilience at defeat, it was effective communication, it was learning how to express myself, it was being patient, it was learning how to become a patient person, it was being good, it was learning how to become a good person. It was a lot of work, and it's definitely not luck in my mind. In honesty, most of the definably negative aspects of my transition happened before I began the physical part. So essentially, before I began sharing my journey on the internet through YouTube videos in early 2009. So while I do share some of the past, and you'll see in my earlier videos and even my videos now, I mostly talk about the present. So when I do talk about the past, I sort of just glimpse over it. Sometimes you'll just see like this nugget of something that was extremely negative, but you'll just see me go and be like, this really negative thing happened, but it's okay, and then I move on. It just means that I didn't feel a need to share it. Didn't mean that it didn't happen. But essentially, when I do talk about the past, it tends to be about good things. So you look on the internet and there isn't a Tumblr post about how I starved myself throughout puberty in hopes that my hips and my breasts wouldn't grow. There aren't videos of me weeping after a day in high school, being mispronounced, shot down, and made fun of. There isn't a Facebook post recounting the day where I had to get an emergency ultrasound of my abdomen and the nurse objectified me and my body to the point where I had a panic attack and left with no answers. Honestly, there's a lot of things that I'm not going to share. There's a lot of things I'm not going to talk about, and that's totally okay. As some of you may know, I am writing a memoir about my transition, and in that book I will likely reveal a lot more intimate details about my past. But the truth is, I have not been fed love and happiness by the spoonful so that I came out this confident, glorious rainbow. If I had, then yeah, call it easy and call it luck. Honestly, I guess what it comes down to is I could talk about a lot of the really terrible things in my life, but I just don't feel a need to go into the past or go into those spaces and bring up every single day where I wanted to leave this world. Instead, I want to share with you every single reason why I'm happy that I stayed. And I think that pretty much just sums up my existence right there, right? However, that's not what this video is about. I don't feel a need to detail and prove the hardships that I faced in order to make it seem like my story is worth telling. So what is it that really unnerves me the most about this comment? You're so lucky your transition was so easy. It's because it inherently becomes a comparison. I'm so lucky my transition was so easy in comparison to my friend Aiden's transition. I'm so lucky that my transition was easy in comparison to having bipolar disorder. I'm so lucky my transition was so easy in comparison to surviving 4 years at an Ivy League college. In comparison to what? These things are so entirely different. How can you put them next to each other, and how can you say, oh, well, let's make a Venn diagram here, and this one's actually more valid, this one's more real? You can't. Every transition is different. Every human experience is different. And so the root of what bothers me most about this comment is not even that it paints over my struggles and triumphs as easy and lucky, but that it reveals a part of the human condition that I cannot possibly comprehend. This idea that comparing our lives to others is the only way that we can find out our worth. This idea that in order to know how we belong and how we fit in, we must see ourselves next to something else. See what's similar, but more importantly, see what's different. More importantly, see what's better and what's worse, as if it's a competition in life. The truth is, I don't know how we ended up in this culture of comparison, but I'm honestly scared of it. I'm scared by it, I'm displeased by it, I'm scared of it. So to be the change and to explain to you my thoughts about this topic and what's been going on in my head and how I'm going to resolve it, I just want to sort of let you know what's going on in my brain here, alright? It's that I believe that good is good and bad is bad and life is life and simple is simple and hard is hard, sadness is sadness, hurt is hurt. But life really isn't that simple. These things are so complex. However, consistently, I choose to validate others' feelings rather than to feel a need to immediately compare them to my own or compare them to someone else's. Recently, I had a friend whose grandmother passed away, and she was really close with her grandmother, and she's devastated. And I also have a friend whose cat just passed away, and he's devastated. But I'm not going to look at my friend who's missing his cat and say, well, dude, Cassie lost her grandma. Like, how can you be sad about your cat when there's so much more sadness out in the world? When has that ever helped anyone? It's just because of the relationship. It's not that Cassie's devastation is more real than his. Their devastation is equal. In fact, devastation exists on a personal spectrum. It's not a spectrum of Cassie to Dave. It's not a spectrum of me to you. It's not a spectrum of happiness on my end and happiness on your end, where we battle back and forth to decide ultimately where is this bullet point going to fall between us, and who is going to be closer to reaching out to it and being able to take it home and say, haha, I was the most valid. I was the most right. We have our personal spectrums, and I think that we just forget that. Like, my happiness today is about, maybe 50%. Recently I felt all the way at the 100% end. I'm always aiming for that, but today I'm at the 50% end. I'm not at the 0% end. I've been at 0% before, but I'm at 50%. I'm not going to go play music with my friend Amy and be like, Amy, you're at 90% happiness today. Rude. Stop. So really, this is just my opinion and my personal thoughts on this whole topic. And I've been talking a lot about negativity, but really the same goes for happiness. People compare happiness all the time, and ultimately it makes us less happy. Just like compassion, happiness is not meant to be compared, it's meant to be shared. So really what I want you to share your existence with me and not to compare it to mine. I invite you to end the emotional competition, or at least to become conscious of it. I invite you to consider what it means when you say, I wish my life could be as great as Skylar's, because I wish that your life can be the best version of it that you can make it. I just hope that your life is better today than it was yesterday. I wish that you would no longer wish for the things that you do not have, that you would no longer wish for a life that you're not living, that you would be able to look at all that you have within and surrounding yourself and realize that that is beautiful, that is extraordinary, that is enough, that is real, and that you could stand alone with nothing in comparison and realize that you are worthy of all of this. Alright, that was a lot of thoughts, so okay. Bye.